Hi, so this is a very special episode. This is something that could be like a lesson to all the American comics on how to do an event comic or a crossover, blockbuster, whatever you want to call it. So, 2000 AD, this week they brought out a bigger than normal comic, 48 pages in this comic, and it's a big mega event crossover, but this is how 2000 AD do it. So they've got a big chunky comic this issue, and then it continues into Judge Dredd magazine, which has 110 pages, 120 pages. Have you ever heard of an American comic having that many pages? So it crossovers into that, and then that's it, it's done. So one comic, one chunky magazine, and that's their big mega crossover event done. Why can't American comics do that? So that you don't need to buy any other titles. There's no tie-ins. There's no 10 books what might be linked into it, so if you miss it, you miss a bit of the plot. No, it's done. It's a fun crossover. But once you've read it, you don't need to worry about collecting anymore. Get one issue, 2000 AD, one issue of Judge Dredd magazine, and it's done. So what this one is, it's called Nordland Rises. So Rogue Trooper, his storyline is he's fighting the Norts, which is basically like a composite of, say, your big bad. So composite of, say, the Nazis, the communist Russia, things like that. So it's any of the big bads that we can conjure up. That's what they're like, a conglomerate of. They're basically they're just despicable. So the Norts come from Nordland, and they find this interdimensional ray device, and they realise they can go into parallel universes, into different worlds, and they can use the resources there. It's genius, actually. And they realise that, hey, there's people who we might be able to influence, who might be able to side with us, and they might have similar beliefs what we have. So this could help us turn the tide, and we could use what we pick up from these other worlds to bring back to our world to win the war. So that's what they look like. So these are the worlds that they cross over. So Rogue Troopers from their world, and then you've got Judge Dredd, of course, from Mega City. And you've got the VCs, who I used to love. They were really good. It's like a hardline grunts in space kind of story. You've got Venus Blue Jeans, who's from Rogue Troopers universe. Kano, who's from Bad Company, which is one of the best futuristic anti-war comics of all time. It's just a masterpiece. You used to be able to get a collection of it from Rebellion. I hope Rebellion's watching this. You need to reprint it, like you're doing with the definitive Nemesis and the definitive Slain, what you're doing next year. You need to bring out a lovely deluxe book of Bad Company, because it's chef's kiss. It's just wonderful. But we'll come into that later when it comes to the story of that. So it opens up with a Judge Dredd story. So Judge Dredd's like he basically has the beginning story and then the end cap story. And what I love about this one, the writing is always good because it's Ken Diamond, who's become a really good Judge Dredd writer, but he's got gorgeous John McCrea artwork of Hitman fame. I love this style, what he's evolved into. It's gone very scratchy, and it really works. It's got so much energy and kinetic frisson to it. So the Norts have invaded Mega City, but what they've done, they've jumped back to a time when it was the Apocalypse War. And if you've not read this, people often say, what's a good jumping on point for Judge Dredd? Pick up the Essential Judge Dredd collections, because they cherry pick some of the best epics what you can find, and one of them is the Apocalypse War. It is so good. It's got amazing, beautiful artwork by Carlos Esquera. I highly recommend it. So the Norts come in the middle of that war, what's going on, and they basically side with the Sov bloc, who Mega City want to fight against, and so they have this alliance forming because of like minds again. They're basically fascists. So this is the big bad of the Nords, the traitor general. I do recommend picking up the Rogue Trooper books as well because again they're so good, so good. I have done a few videos on Rogue Trooper, but they don't just come through the rift. Venus Blue Jeans comes through the rift as well, and she's one of the coolest female characters in all of comics. She's just so cool. She's everything that you wish Storm could be. I mean, just look at that punk image. She's absolutely fucking amazing. And so that's the first story arc, and then it jumps over to Bad Company. So it now comes back to, because these are all different worlds. So it now comes to the world of the Bad Company, and this is written by the original Bad Company writer Pete Milligan. I was. This is bittersweet, this comic, because it brings some strips back who I've not read in years, and it's just for this crossover. Please bring them back fully. Please, 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 please. I would be so happy. And it's got gorgeous artwork by Cam Smith. He's normally known as a really good inker, but his artwork on this is gorgeous. So that's Kano, who's kind of like this Frankenstein creature. So if you imagine the creature commandos in space, that's what you get here. But this is like at the beginning of Bad Company. So they've kind of like come up pivotal points of each of these comic strips storylines. So they've come at the pivotal points of Bad Company when they're just being formed. So when they first started, there was only 3 of them, and then they find this place where people are being experimented on by the Cruel. So the big bads in Bad Company is a race called the Cruel, who are like these blobby-like, frog-like creatures. Let me just see. And they have these internment camps where they're experimenting on humans, splicing them with, like, for example, this guy, they've put a dog's brain in this guy's body, and so these are some of the characters that form what comes to be known as Bad Company. So the Norts come down at this time when this has all just been set up. And so they team up with the Cruel, and the leader of the Cruel is this big, blobby creature called the Cruel Heart. It's just this gigantic, vile being. So Kano, and this has got to be one of the best panels of a comic this week. Don't know if that shows because the paper's a bit glossy. But Kano just frees these prisoners who've been experimented on, and these who become known as Bad Company. And Venus Blue Jeans basically appears saying, "Hey, come and join us, come and join us." So that's where that chapter ends. And again, I want more Bad Company. Hopefully, I think a lot of these stories will follow on through to the Judge Dredd magazine, which I'll do a review of next week, hopefully, because I think it'll be in then. Then we move on to the VCs, which is written by Dan Abnett, who's Chef's Kiss on 2000 AD. He's not done a rubbish strip on 2000 AD. With great art by Nick Dyer, who's very, very Cam Kennedy, Cam Kennedy used to be the artist for VC, so it's a really good fit. And it's just so good. It's kind of like the Vietnam, got the sensibility of the Vietnam War, but in space. And so the VCs are fighting against this alien race. And so when the Nords suddenly appear, who team up with this alien race that the VCs are fighting against, they think, oh, it's some more aliens who we're fighting, so they shoot them. And then one of the masks of the Nords come off and go, it's a human, so why are these humans fighting us? What's going on here? And again, Venus Blue Jeans appears and says, hey, come and join us. So it's a certain stage, just like chomping up a bit because I want to know more. And this is, I think, one of my favourite strips, just for the twist in it. So this is Fiends of the Eastern Front. I did a review of the book of Fiends of the Eastern Front. So good. One of the best. It's this really cool mashup of vampire lore and gritty war story. It's just amazing. So this is by the regular writer of the resurrected Fiends of the Eastern Front, Ian Edgerton, and really nice art by Nick Percival. You don't get much That's better. Don't get much darker than that. So the Nords make a mistake in this one. They make a blunder. They think, hey, these are vampires. They're going to be evil. They'll be on our side. So they inter the vampires. They put them in these stasis chambers and start experimenting on them. And what's his name? Constanta is the big vampire. He's the one with all the influence and the power. And say, hey, work for us. We're going to create all these children of yours, and because think, oh, he's a vampire. He's going to be evil. He's going to be on our side. He's going to have our beliefs. And no, it doesn't. It backfires on them brilliantly. And I don't want to show you how it does, because you need to read it. It's pretty grim how he exacts his revenge on them. But it's just something. Oh, the images. This is how you want your vampires. It is so good. And again, Venus Blue Jeans appears at the end saying, come and join us. Next up is a really, really good spin-off of the Rogue Trooper universe. It's a strip called Jaeger, which is written by Gordon Rennie, who I've sung praise of before. One of my favourite 2000 AD artists, Simon Colby. Jaeger is this... She's part of North Army, but it's like the Hellman strip from Action. She's become disenchanted with it. She doesn't believe in what they're doing. She believes what they're doing now is just corrupt, and she's kind of like fighting them from the inside. She's got a scar on her face, a bit like Jonah Hex. This is what I love about 2000 AD over American comics. They're not afraid to make their characters ugly. In fact, they kind of encourage it. And it's so refreshing. So nobody's a pin-up. Nobody's, woo, sexy. I mean, think about all the 2000 AD characters. There isn't any that you could say. Zenith, maybe? But in an 80s, 90s kind of style. But the rest, fucking ugly. But it's great. So she basically wants to change the tide from the inside. I don't want to give too much, because I do encourage you to pick up. It's a really good jumping on point as well, this. If you get this and then Judge Dredd magazine afterwards, it's a very, very good jumping on point. If you're in the States or Canada, you can get it through their website, so you can read it digitally as well. It's very, very good. I just want to show this cover as well for the next issue of 2000 AD. What a beautiful, beautiful cover by, I think it's Simon Harrison. And then they jump to Second World War period, so to our Earth, and it's Major Easy. This one's written by Arthur Wyatt, who does predominantly Judge Dredd, and art by Tom Foster, who's the closest thing we've got nowadays to Brian Bolland in 2000 AD. So this is just an excuse to do a rip-roaring Second World War action adventure story. As I mentioned in my overview of the Battle Actions comics, Major is this really cool British officer who's got a Bentley. He looks very much like I keep forgetting the actor's name. Is it James Coburn from the 60s who did Fistful of Dynamite? That actor anyway. And the art is gorgeous, as you can see. The only thing I've got against it, I've got this thing, I like an artist, if he's doing a character, make sure the face is the same on each panel. And Major Easy changes drastically from panel to panel in his face. He just can't seem to get his face right. That's the only bugbear I've got from it, apart from that the art is gorgeous. But again, Venus Blue Jeans appears at the end, so come join us. And then finally we have the cap end story of Judge Dredd, again with gorgeous John McCrae art and writing by Ken Nyman. And so they all meet up. Rogue Trooper teams up, the VCs team up. They all meet up to fight the big bad. And so it leaves you hanging, wants to know what happens. So next week, get Judge Dredd magazine, and everything will be explained. So I'll do another video then. But I highly recommend, if you're looking for a jumping on point, get this issue, because it's all fresh next week after this, apart from one strip which is finishing soon. So it's a really good jumping on point here, and then you can jump on with Judge Dredd magazine as well. Yeah, highly recommend it. Really fun comic, 9 out of 10. It was just fun. Like I said, 48 pages, £4.99. You can't complain. Yeah, and like as always, nice big size of 2000 AD. Okay, bye.